fly or flying as a way to transport the viewer to see these figures as something more than tragic, but as escaping their realities and becoming something more, becoming something greater. So the way it was designed is like when you stand in the center of the room, there are these surround sound speakers that are playing the sound collage, and there are sounds coming in at different points from different places that become, like I said, like a meditation as you are studying these two pieces. So while we're looking at this, I'll play a little bit of the sound piece. If I can. So I won't play the whole thing. It's about 8 minutes long, but you kind of get the sense for how the piece worked. But it just ran on a continuous loop. So you know, it would cycle around about every 8 minutes or so. But again, the piece was a collage of sounds, and actually it was pretty cool to hear it in this room because I guess this room is already set up for like surround sound. But it really works best like if you're listening to it in headphones or listening to it in surround sound, so that you can hear these different pieces coming in from different angles. Sometimes it's behind you, sometimes it's in front of you or to your left and right. So that's Gravity in a nutshell. And I'll take any questions now that you guys might have. And if you want to see more stuff, we can go to my website and I can show more images from some other projects as well.
I have. I just felt I really enjoyed the sort of struggle in the energy of the drawing, and it reminds me a bit of the Robert Longo pieces of the 1980s. Is there, and your language interpretation is also very vast. I really appreciate the way you play with the language. I'm more curious as to any external influences that you might have when you look at when you create drawings. what you're looking at. We all, as artists, look at other artists
Mhm.
and are influenced. Can you tell me if you
Yeah.
have influenced you?
Sure. Well, one, it's a huge compliment to be compared to Robert Longo. It's one of my favorite. I was actually inspired, particularly with the animation, and maybe subsequently into the drawings by the work of William Kentridge.
Oh, sure,
You know, just really thinking about you know, his ability to use line to line very simply to communicate very complex ideas, and thinking about particularly in his animations and his charcoal drawings.
You're doing the same sort of activity with
Right.
drawing or shooting, erasing,
Right.
drawing, shooting. Is that the same?
Yeah, exactly. You know, I actually I had an opportunity a couple of years ago to attend a Kentridge exhibition. It was like a major.
At MoMA?
No, this was in Dallas. I saw it at the Fort Worth Modern. But he had an entire room where he had one of his operas playing, and so like there was all of these different scenes and animations happening that were interacting with each other, and you know, it's like, you know, a complete
That was one of the most
three-dimensional
amazing
experience.
shows you've ever seen.
Yeah. So that's a fantasy of mine is to you know, do something in that respect. In terms of painting, I'm very much inspired and influenced by Barclay Hendricks, you know, it was maybe 2008 when I first saw Barclay Hendricks' work in person for the first time, and actually the first time that I even heard of Barclay Hendricks. But you know, after seeing his paintings, I literally wanted to go and burn everything that I'd ever done and start over, because the stuff was just so immaculate. And so it's really been, for me, a challenge to be able to marry my concepts to actual, you know, to my technical skills, so that, you know, nothing gets lost in the translation, that the concept is not overshadowed by the work, and vice versa. The work is not overshadowed by the concept. And so I think in that respect, you know, I'm constantly looking at not just visual artists, but artists from other genres who I feel like have a really great marriage between concept and execution. So I'm a big fan of hip hop, and I like albums that are like concept albums, like, you know, Kendrick Lamar, for example, or Kanye West, who, like, you know, really think through their projects from multiple angles. You know, how does this resonate in terms of, you know, lyrics? How does it resonate in terms of musicality, the concepts, you know, all these different things. And so I'm thinking about my work in that same kind of way.
You can tell. Your drawing line is impeccable.
Thank you.
Really enjoy it.
So mine's less of a question, more about sort of two things. When I think of sagging, I think of swagger.
Mm-hmm.
There's a certain body language that accompanies it, and the tend to be kind of far apart. It's more about almost commanding and taking over space, and walking in a very different way. So it's not just about fashion changes and what that's doing, but it's also about whole body language. And what I'm noticing actually, I think all of these works, with the exception of this one, is that you tend to depict, I guess, yourself in a very sort of closed body pose. The body kind of is curled in on itself often, or a three-quarter pose. This is the only one where we see a frontal pose where you've got that kind of, you know, open legs, expansive. So it seems a lot of these images read as very vulnerable to me, which is so kind of counter to the way I often see men who are sagging. Their body language is very kind of most confident. And then the other thing about sagging is that it often seems really sexualized to me, right? And sometimes I kind of almost feel like a voyeur. I'm worried, are those underpants kind of, you know, pull down too. And here you've got the layering of multiple underwear, and it almost seems, again, it's almost masking that kind of sexual aspect.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I think that's, you know, definitely a really interesting thing, and one of the points that I argue about sagging is, you know, this attempt to always over-sexualize, or, you know, just generally sexualize the black male body in some respect. And, you know, I think also what you're responding to in terms of the way the figure is posed is about that kind of wrestle, and it is a kind of internal struggle as much as it is an external struggle. And so, you know, for me, it was, you know, a part of creating these works, because I am the model, I also have to get into like a mental space with, you know, the actual ideas that I'm conveying, because it's, you know, it's like performing, like becoming an actor. And so, you know, to put on, you know, 6 or 7 layers of boxers and then try to just contort and distort my body into these different poses, you know, with this particular series, like with these last 2 paintings in particular, you know, I'm literally jumping, you know, as high as I can and trying to like wrestle at the same time. And so, you know, it becomes, I think in many ways that those tensions come across because you kind of see it being physically executed as opposed to just thinking it through. I'm actually acting it out.
I was hoping at the actual show you included another artist.
Yes, Charles Nelson. Yeah.
Could you tell us more about?
Yeah. Charles Nelson was a really fantastic artist. I think I may have met him around 96, 97 as well. I think I was a senior. And he came in as an adjunct professor at the Atlanta College of Art. And one of the, you know, Charles stood out for 2 reasons. One, you know, at the Atlanta College of Art, there was probably 1 black professor, and he was in the sculpture department. And so for the 4 years that I had been there, you know, there was, you know, outside of leaving Atlanta College of Art and going over to the AUC to do some studies, I had no interaction with any black artists. And so Charles, you know, coming in was, you know, one of the first black professors that I was able to, you know, interact with. But also, you know, Charles was only like 3 or 4 years older than I am, you know. And so there was, you know, almost an immediate connection. But he came in to teach painting, and he became very quickly like a big brother to all the young black men at the Atlanta College of Art. And, you know, even though we didn't take classes with him, you know, he would hang out with us and, you know, talk to us about our work and, you know, make suggestions. My very first exhibition out of college was thanks to Charles. You know, he recommended me for an exhibition at the Hammond's House.